Next part will be the pathogenesis and pathology of the tetanus. We have to remember that this disease is not an invasive disease, the organism is not an invasive organism. First, the infection will start by introduction of the tetanus spores and not the vegetative form, of course, because the spores are present in the soil, in the environment. They are going to be introduced into a trauma inside the human body. So number one will be starting the infection by introduction of the spores of the tetanus into the wound. So the wound will be contaminated by the tetanus spores. And as we said, the organism or the Clostridium tetani spores, they are not invasive. The organism is not an invasive organism, meaning that the infection remains localized to the site of the trauma. And if the wound or if the trauma contains extensive necrotic tissue or is associated with other pyogenic infection that contaminate the wound, these pyogenic organisms will consume the available oxygen in the wound. They will transform the environment of the wound from the aerobic one to the anaerobic one, which is favorable for the Clostridium tetani spores to be transformed from the spore form to the vegetative form. So this anaerobic environment generated by the associated pyogenic infection will allow the tetanus spores to germinate. So the vegetative bacilli, once produced into the trauma or in the wound, will produce the powerful neurotoxin known as tetanospasmin. Thus, the disease is completely mediated by this toxin. That's why it is one of the toxemic disease. So the disease is almost entirely a toxemia. Why? Because it is caused by the tetanospasmin, the toxin produced by the Clostridium tetani vegetative bacilli. Okay? And as we said, the toxin, its target organ is the central nervous system rather than the neuromuscular junction. How does it reach the nervous system? By one of two ways, either the bloodstream or by the retrograde axonal transport. Once it reaches the central nervous system, it binds to its specific ganglioside receptors in the brainstem and spinal cord, where it performs its mechanism of action. What is the mechanism of action of the tetanus toxin or tetanospasmin? Once it reaches the ganglioside receptors, it has high affinity for the inhibitory neurons. The inhibitory neurons, where it binds here and it blocks the release of the inhibitory transmitter from the inhibitory neurons. What are these inhibitory transmitters? They are known as glycine and gamma aminobutyric acid or GABA. So once these inhibitory mediators are blocked, the excitatory mediators secreted by the excitatory neurons, which are the acetylcholine, they are released without inhibition. They take the upper hand, resulting into sustained muscle spasm and hyperreflexia. So again, the mechanism of action of the tetanospasmin is blocking the release of inhibitory mediators present in the terminals of inhibitory neurons, which are the glycine and gamma aminobutyric acid or GABA, resulting into excessive activity of the excitatory motor neurons, releasing acetylcholine, resulting in sustained muscle spasm and hyperreflexia. So there is extensive muscle spasm. These muscular spasms, they have certain sequence and pattern. First, they involve the muscles surrounding the local area of infection. Then the muscles with the shortest nerve supply, such as the jaw muscles, and the patient will suffer from inability to open his jaw properly, what we call the lock jaw or rhizus sardonicus or yellow smile. Gradually, other voluntary muscles are involved, resulting into tonic spasm, and these tonic spasms could be precipitated by external stimuli such as noise or bright light, resulting into tetanic generalized muscle spasm. And these muscle spasms are associated with intense pain. The patient is fully conscious. He feels this pain very well. That's why he is in severe pain. And when the muscle spasm involves or interferes with the mechanics of respiration, death will be the result.